chances of the UK and the EU reaching a Brexit deal are in jeopardy after key talks broke down last night. The meeting between the EU's Michel Barnier and UK Brexit Secretary Dominic Raab lasted a little more than an hour. Shortly after that meeting, Barnier tweeted that despite intense efforts, some key issues are still open. And he went on to mention the ongoing issue of the Irish border. Well, for more on that, let's go to our correspondent Vincent McAviney, who's in London for us. Good morning to you, Vincent. That meeting last night not quite delivering the results that were expected.
Good morning, Belle. Well, the negotiators thought that they had a draft of a deal in place, and Dominic Raab was just coming over to agree to it, to dot the I's and cross the T's. But the terms of it were unacceptable to both him and the Prime Minister, who really is now stuck in an incredibly strange and hard position. For months she's been playing these negotiations, sorting out the different issues, making moves like on a chessboard, but really the issue of Northern Ireland has locked her in. It's like she's just got one king left. She keeps moving it one place, getting checkmate, moving again, another. She's checkmated there as well. It's just incredibly difficult now for her to come up with a solution which doesn't create a border either in the Irish Sea or a technical border in between Ireland and Northern Ireland, which would be very hard to enforce and also unacceptable to both sides. So the issue of this Northern Irish border, which didn't really gain much traction during the referendum, is now the main stumbling block to Theresa May coming up with a deal.
And how does it affect her coalition government?
Well, Theresa May's government is in jeopardy, and I know that we've said this for weeks now, but there are rumours of 3 possible cabinet ministers on the verge of resigning over this issue, unhappy with the deal that the Prime Minister has struck. There will be some of the Brexiteer cabinet ministers actually meeting this evening in Andrea Leadsom, the Commons leader's office, to talk through the proposals. There's been another column from Boris Johnson today saying that it's a humiliation like Suez if Northern Ireland is left in the customs union. Then she's got the Scottish Secretary David Mundell and the leader of the Scottish Tories, Ruth Davidson, writing to her publicly and saying that Northern Ireland can't have any special deal because they worry about what that will do to the nationalist cause in Scotland. The SNP leader, Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister of Scotland, she'll speak here in London today all about Brexit. For Theresa May, this is a disastrous start to the week, and she's really got not much that she can do. Government departments are apparently stepping up preparations for no-deal Brexit, saying now that even if it looks like a deal might be able to be pulled from this, they need to get those plans in place so they can start putting them into preparation by the end of this month.
Vincent, thank you very much for the view from London. Well, let's now get the view from Brussels. And to do that, we're going to turn to our correspondent, Brian Carter, who's there for us. Brian, where does this leave, this meeting last night, where does that leave the EU negotiating side?
Good morning, Belle. Well, there's a feeling here in Brussels that they've pretty much given everything in terms of trying to find a deal with the UK, at least on the technical side. Now we'll have to wait whether the negotiating team of Michel Barnier can get more political maneuver in order to try and to strike a deal, and that will have to wait probably until the meeting between the heads of states and government this Wednesday in Brussels. The EU agrees with the UK that there shouldn't be a hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland, which Vinny just explained, but the EU has also its own red lines. They've rejected the Chequers plan, saying that it would be a threat to the single market, which they really cherish here in the EU, that you can't have free trade for goods without having that free trade for services, for people, for capital. Yet Brussels is very well aware of Theresa May's difficult position. They know that she has to strike a right balance with her coalition partner and with some of the members of her own party. And so they have to find this right balance between trying to find the best deal possible for the EU, a deal that would also send a strong signal to other member states about what it would cost them to want to leave the EU at a time of growing Euroscepticism, yet without losing Theresa May, because that would surely crash the talks, and then we'll surely head towards a no-deal Brexit.
We were meant to see a meeting of the EU 27 negotiators today. That's been cancelled. Another deadline missed. Where does all this leave the talks more broadly?
Well, basically, Bell, it will all depend on which party is ready to cross these red lines. Vinny mentioned the red lines of the UK. I just mentioned the one of the EU. So we'll have to wait what happens here on Wednesday. There's a strong possibility that they will kick the decision down to November, which will really be the ultimate time to find a deal, because that will only leave 4 months before the official exit date of the UK. 4 months for both parliaments to ratify this. And in the midst of all this, of course, both parties, the UK and the EU, are preparing their contingency plans in case of a no-deal scenario. But as you know, Bill, usually these hard negotiations in Brussels, well, they often find an agreement at the last minute, really at the last moment, with meetings that go on throughout the night. So we'll see on Wednesday whether this is the case for this Brexit issue.